Hey, hey, hey! This is Sharon Gill, and I am your guest for today's podcast. I am thrilled to be here, and I hope that by the end of this podcast, you will feel the same way as I do. By way of introduction, I am a business and success coach with Sharon Gill International. I am also the founder of the Oasis Compassion Agency, a nonprofit that has served more than 7,000 families over the last 15 years. Additionally, I am the Chief Operations Officer of the Gill Law Firm, a firm that I co-founded with my husband 21 years ago in the state of Florida. I am pleased to be hosting this podcast today and want to share with you 3 tips to level up your career. Now, these tips and strategies stem from over 25 years as an employer and from my own time as an employee as well. So let us begin. Tip number 1, become a continuous learner. So whether you're a junior employee looking to go up the ranks or you are in upper management and wanting to go further, you must, and I do mean must, dedicate time to learning outside of your job. So now with that being said, I want you to be curious and explore all opportunities within your company, because this will show your superiors that you are interested in learning. And one of the biggest career killers that I have seen is not to take advantage of the educational and the learning opportunities within your organization, because you see, your boss notices. At one of the companies that I ran, we offered an online education platform free of charge to the employees with classes tailor-made to their weaknesses. To our great surprise, less than 5% participated in the offerings. Now, as a result of that, it was just those 5% who were any serious contenders for promotion. As a matter of fact, these employees were also the ones who were always available to teach their peers, demonstrating to management that not only were they more knowledgeable, but they were willing to share that knowledge as well. So one thing you should ask yourself is, at my company right now, am I the one being taught all the time, or am I the one teaching? And if you find that you are the one that's always being taught or shown something, then you have room to grow. Because when you go out there and when you expand your knowledge base, when you attend seminars and workshops in your field, and when you improve yourself, you bring value back to your company. And when you bring value back to your company, you're going to get noticed. And many times employees fail to tap into the resources that are there. For example, many companies offer tuition reimbursement. It may not be announced because it costs money. But if you are the employee who is willing to learn, curious about learning, curious about growing, you will be the employee who will go to your HR director, your HR manager, and you will inquire. Now, the way how this usually works in a company, just behind the scenes, just from the management perspective, when management is looking to promote someone from within the company, they look at all aspects of the employee's behavior. For example, they'll get HR's input. Has there been any complaints about this person? Has there been anything that's noticeable that should be taken into account? And if you are that employee who have gone to your HR manager and have inquired about learning opportunities, growing opportunities, then that's going to come up. So as managers are looking, as your boss is looking to promote from within, this is one of the things that will be considered, your learning readiness, your curiosity level. Sometimes you may find that in companies, someone who is pretty qualified may get passed over for a promotion, and they may say to themselves, wow, I am qualified. Why am I passed over? It could be something as simple as you did not demonstrate a willingness to learn, to stretch, to grow. that even though you may have great technical skills, in other words, you may be excellent at Excel, you may be excellent at Word, excellent at project management, but you did not demonstrate curiosity to grow, improve yourself, and bring back value to the organization. So my first tip is to become a continuous learner. Stretch outside of your comfort zone and to look within the company and to maximize all the opportunities that are offered within your organization. Tip number 2, find a mentor. And this applies wherever you are in the company. Mentorship is not only for the C-suite executive, it is also for the junior employee. My first mentor was a woman by the name of Julie. She was my supervisor. I admired her and I made myself available to her for any additional projects and assignments that she may have. In exchange for that, for my willingness to be available to her, she took an interest in my career. She gave me 3 tips that I call Julie's jewels. She told me, tip number 1, to dress for the part that I wanted. And at that time, I wanted to be a unit leader. So Julie told me where to purchase my clothing. She told me what bags I should carry, what colors I should wear. She told me, dress for the part that you want. And I actually followed her advice. I got myself a new wardrobe. I began to dress differently. And as a result, I began to feel differently. I began to feel like a junior leader. So that was her first tip to me. Her second tip to me was to start reading certain books. She said, read certain books within the industry and read certain books outside of our industry. And there was one particular magazine actually that she encouraged me to get a subscription for, and it was called Working Woman Magazine. This was going back in the 80s. And she told me that in reading this magazine, it would improve my writing skills, it would improve my knowledge of the corporate world, the corporate norms, and it would just get my mentality and my mindset in the zone of being an executive woman. And so I took out a subscription to Working Woman Magazine, and I kept that subscription going for 10 years. So that was her second tip. Read certain books, be an avid reader, read books within the industry, and read books outside of the industry to gain perspective, and so that I can have conversation at certain networking meetings. And the third tip that Julie shared with me, she said to make sure I sign up for every class being offered at the company. And there was one particular program that was introduced in the organization, and it was called Breakfast with the Boss. And Julie encouraged me to sign up for this particular breakfast. And at this event, you were able to ask upper management any question. You were able to make any request for your training, for your advancement. You had the boss's ear. And I remember at that breakfast, I asked for 2 particular training that were outside of the company. They were very costly. And the boss granted the request. And within 6 months, I was promoted to unit leader. And within a year of me joining the company, I was deemed one of the top 5% of employees worldwide. I became what they called a pace setter. How old was I when I had this happen to me? I was 24 years old and a fairly recent immigrant. Actually, I had just been in the country 2.5 years. So it is never too early to start getting a mentor. A mentor is someone who is a little ahead of you. And of course, as you become mentored, one of the things that I will also encourage is that you mentor up someone that's junior. That is going to help you with your leadership skills, and it will also help you to feel like a bigger person, because the more you give, the bigger you feel. So that was my second tip. Now, tip number 3 is to develop a personal brand. Now, Branding is not just for brands like Nike and Coca-Cola, and it's not just for big personalities like the Kardashians. It is for you too. So, what is a brand and how does that apply to you in your career? Well, your brand is what people think or say about you. It is the essence that you leave behind when you leave a room. And if you want to know what type of essence you're giving off, I would suggest that you get a group of friends together who are not afraid of telling you the truth and ask them, when they think of you, what do they think about? What images come to their mind? Or do they see you as a giver? Do they see you as a learner? Do they see you as compassionate? Do they see you as kind, smart? What image are you emanating to in your sphere of influence? And so you could start with that. So if you're trying to advance in your career, if you're switching jobs, people are going to Google you. So part of the things that you want to start to do is to develop a footprint on the internet. But here's where you have to be careful. You have to be careful about what you're posting on your Facebook pages, on your Instagram pages, on your LinkedIn page, because employers, and I'm telling you as an employer, they do look. They do their research. If you're looking to do an internal promotion, if you're looking for a new job, you're going to be Googled, you're going to be searched. As a matter of fact, this is often a task that I, as an employer, delegate to one of my managers to do a workup to see what are you saying, what's your language, what is your consistent message across your platforms. So you want to make sure your platform is clean, that you're not too controversial, you're not too political, and you may want to also be careful as to whose pages you're commenting on, whose pages you're following, because and you may say to yourself, look, isn't that my personal space? It is, but we all bring our personal lives into our companies. And so we as the employer, we want to know, what are your values? What are your core values? What is the vision that you have for yourself? What is your personal mission? So if I'm Googling you, I may find nothing, or I may find something controversial. But if you are, let's say, someone in upper management, when I Google you, I would love to find something that's positive. For example, I suggest that you, as a upper management employee candidate, that you have a vibrant and robust LinkedIn page where you're posting relevant content, where you're writing articles within the space of your career, where you are adding value to those around you. I would suggest that LinkedIn is a platform for anyone who is serious about their career, serious about promotion, serious about advancing themselves. So serious career-minded individuals should definitely have a well-polished LinkedIn profile that is active. Not just one that is a shell profile, but one that has your picture and one that has active, relevant posts. And I love to see consistency in messaging. And employers look at this to see, what are your values, what are you passionate about, and what is your vision. Be mindful of this because employers do check. So having a polished brand in today's society is an absolute must. But many employees are very careless about their brand because they feel and they believe, and they do have a point, they believe that their personal lives are different from their work life. But in today's society, it is honestly one and the same. You bring your personal values to your work. So to summarize my 3 tips, tip number 1, be a continuous learner. Read books, take courses, attend seminars, add value to your organization, add value to your team. Be the one who is teaching and not always the one who's being taught. Tip number 2, find a mentor. someone who is a step ahead of you, someone who you aspire to be like, someone who can bring value to you. And tip number 3, develop a strong, positive personal brand. This is a must in today's world. So I thank you for listening, and I hope that you will leave your comments, and I hope that you go out there and you claim your great place in the world. It is waiting for you. Take care until the next time.